Hi guys, this is AJ. I have a story that I want to share with you all, so if you like spooky shit, then listen up. This is the first episode in a series of short stories I'll be doing, so if you're into scary stories, then subscribe and hit that notification bell to make sure that you don't miss an episode. Also, follow me on Instagram at AJAJSays to find out more about following episodes. If you're interested in submitting one of your own stories, then stay till the end to find out how. But for now, sit back and enjoy. So I was driving along a dusty, empty road in the Mojave desert with my dog. It was a scorching hot day. So I had the windows down and my dog was hanging her head out of the window the whole time we were driving. We'd been driving for a good few hours. We were planning on camping out that night, so I had my camping gear in the car with us. I hadn't seen anybody else on the road for miles. There were no buildings around, no road signs. The road eventually turned to gravel and I was getting pretty tired of driving, so I decided to park the car. I was at an open valley with nothing but a few old mining shacks, dried up rivers and dead weeds. There were a few signs that someone had parked there before me, but it's the desert, there's not much rain, so it could have been months since anybody else was there. I grabbed my gear and me and my dog began to hike, looking for a good place to camp for the night. We were walking along for a good bit and then my dog started to bark and growl. Row, row. The hair on the back of her neck began to stick up. She was getting real aggressive, like she was going to attack something. I tried to calm her down and looked around to see what she was barking at and to make sure there weren't other hikers or someone else around. There was nothing there. She was barking at thin air. There was no noise either, or any sign of animals. There were no birds in the sky. There was just eerie silence. We continued to walk. And the more we walked, the more I was noticing weird little things on the ground. A toy car, a kid's shoe, a broken table lamp. Still, I didn't think too much of it as people like to fly tip, and it was probably just someone's trash. I ended up setting up camp around 10 kilometers from where I parked. I lit a fire and had a beer, but it was going to get dark soon, so I decided to do some exploring around the desert before settling in at the campsite for the night. I hadn't been walking long before I found an old wooden shack with a number of rooms. It was covered in white spray paint graffiti which was written in some foreign language. It had blown out windows and items left lying around like a torn jacket, empty beer cans, newspapers. I noticed a mattress on the floor in what looked like it would have been the living room. The mattress didn't look that old though. It wasn't destroyed by the elements. It looked as though someone might have put it there as little as a few months ago. I decided to explore the creaky old shack some more. I wasn't really thinking too much of anything happening, and I also didn't notice that my dog wasn't around me anymore. I went down a narrow hallway, passing a couple of rooms and going into what looked like it had been an old bedroom. It had some old broken furniture scattered around and an old-fashioned white metal crib with a mobile dangling above it. I noticed a ton of newspaper clippings scattered all over the room. They all contained stories of disappearances throughout Eastern California, which was where I was. The clippings were on the ground, taped to the wall. Stories about kids and adults, but I noticed that the pictures in the newspaper clippings were all of people with blonde hair. At that point I realised that this place was a little weirder than I had first thought, and figured it was time to go. I started walking back out through the hallway and calling my dog. Sadie? Sadie? Sadie, come here, girl. As I passed by a doorway to one of the side rooms on my way back to the living room, I felt a hand grab my shoulder. I felt my heart drop and start to race. For some reason, my gut instinct was not to look back and see who or what it was, but just to run as fast as I could. I ran the fuck out of there. I looked back to see if this person or thing was following me. I saw what looked like the tallest, gangulous person I have ever seen in my life, who must have been at least 7 foot tall. It was standing in the shadows of the hallway, so I couldn't make it out properly. It was hunched over to avoid hitting its head on the ceiling, and I could feel that it was getting ready to sprint after me. I had a feeling of pure panic, and all I wanted to do was find my dog and get the fuck back to my car as fast as possible. I was yelling for my dog. Sadie! Sadie! I ran around the other side of the shack and I saw her fighting against a rope that was tied around her neck. Someone was trying to pull her into the shack through one of the windows. I ran to her, I grabbed the rope and yanked it off her neck. I started to run back to the campsite with my dog in my arms. I ran constantly without stopping, the whole time hearing agitated screams and groans that seemed to be getting closer and closer, but I didn't stop to look. I just kept on running. It was getting really dark. In the desert, once it starts getting dark, there isn't long before it's so pitch black out that you can't see your hand in front of your face. I was scared as hell that they'd easily find our campsite as I hadn't put out the campfire. So we hiked for as long as possible till we got to around 2 or 3 kilometers back to my car. But by that time it was already dark and my flashlight was giving off our position. So I decided to hide with my dog in a small canyon. I could hear throughout the night things moving in the desert. Groans and inaudible mumbling from the distance. And occasionally flashes of light shining across the desert floor. I would hold on to my dog and calm her down so she didn't start barking and giving off our position. I was so worried that they'd find us. I kept thinking about my family and whether I would ever see them again. My mind was working overtime. I remembered that all of the people on the newspaper clippings in the shack were blonde. I am blonde. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see this tall, thin, stringy thing standing in that darkened hallway. I hid there with my dog shaking in my arms for what felt like a lifetime. On edge the whole time, thinking that this tall, stringy thing was going to jump down into the canyon and carve me and my dog up. When morning came, there was some light to see the way. I ran with my dog the last bit of the way until I finally got to my car. I didn't even think about going back for my $900 worth of camping equipment. I put my dog in the car, I jumped in and sped away. As I was driving and looking in the rearview mirror to see if anyone was following me, I noticed red liquid smeared all over the back window. There was not a fucking chance I was going to stop and check it out. I had a sense of relief that I was safe in my car, but at the same time I was so tired that I kept feeling myself about to drop off to sleep. After I'd been driving for about an hour, I spotted a highway services, the motel cafe. So I thought that I'd better stop for a coffee to wake myself up. I ordered my coffee and sat at the table by the window to try and pull myself together. I looked out of the window and spotted that my car boot was open. I ran out to make sure my dog was still in the car. She wasn't. I checked the whole car, every compartment, and I noticed something strange. The boot of my car was full of dust. Someone had been in there. It had to be the stringy thing from the wooden shack. It had been in the car with me the whole time I had been driving away. I ran back into the service station to get help. My dog has been taken by some freak. I need help. Everyone in there looked at me like I had two heads or something. I was going to have to go looking for my dog. I got in my car and drove around for hours looking for her, or that fucking stringy freak. I went back a couple of days later looking for my dog with a few of my friends to help me look, but I haven't seen her since. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed this story. If you want to send me one of your scary stories or a funny story, any type of story, send it to ajsays@mail.com. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram to stay up to date with all the latest crack about what is going on with my channel. And I'll see you next time, you beautiful people.